Hello and welcome to a new episode of Question the Truth with Swiss Clingfist. This is a new episode of the Thesis block. And I'm sorry that the release is late. I didn't really have the time to or the motivation to actually make this video. But what am I going to talk about today? Well, the title obviously made it away. But yeah, hello. I'm gonna talk about the pyramids. Yeah, I'm also gonna try to hold this short just for the whole segment of I want you as I want you to start using your brain, obviously. So I'm just gonna say this. Read about HHO generators, hydrogen generators. Then you can start with alternative pyramid builds or alternative views of what they were used for. Then you can start to read about dinosaurs and why they were so big, and atmospheric pressure and oxygen levels. And then sizes and age and sickness within oxygen deprivation. So yeah, okay, so that's basically the whole mind map for me that I have in my head right now. And it's like this. It was like 1.5, 2 years ago, I sat down with my friends and I said, well, there's an easy way to cure cancer. And they were like, yeah, okay, how? And I told them, sorry for that it's easy to get rid of cancer if you are willing to change your lifestyle, which is basically go over to raw food and start drinking water very often. And there's some more to it. You need to talk to the water in a loving manner. But yeah, that has to do with water memory, and that's a whole other story. But I was in with the whole idea that you need to change what you eat and how you live. Your lifestyle needs to change in order to kill cancer, because cancer is basically created by dead cells, meaning that it's cells that's deprived from oxygen. So yeah, when a cell don't get the amount of oxygen that it needs, then it dies, and then it goes together with other deprived cells and stuff like that. It's a lot more complicated than what I get it out to be, but it's also quite simple if you just think in a simple manner. I don't know which one to use there, but anyway, so we have Bibles and ancient text and old civilizations telling us that people had these really long um, life cycles, really, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of years old, which in our days are quite absurd since we're barely living up to 100, right? So, um, barely living up to 100 years of age. So, yeah. But you need to see to what sort of lifestyle we are living. We're not living a life where we're walking daily and eating every other or third day or once a week and stuff like that. We live like kings, and if you read about medieval kings and people like that, they had short lifespans because they ate and drank like pigs. Sorry, pigs. So, and they died because they emitted a lot of sicknesses. But anyway, back to the whole oxygen discussion here, is that we have had, or Earth has had, a higher amount of atmospheric pressure, meaning there were a lot more oxygen in the air, meaning that things lived much longer. Also, they got bigger. Think dinosaurs. So yeah, and we still don't know how long they lived. We can just guess that a dinosaur probably lived more than 10 years. Yeah, so so then we have the dinosaurs, and we have old tales of giants. And if dinosaurs could exist, then humans living up to be these bizarre length and heights and all of that wouldn't be so far-fetched, right? Because think dinosaurs, and the more oxygen you have in your blood system and stuff like that. We have the atmosphere right now. Sorry, I don't have the information about how much. Let's see, Google search here. How much oxygen is in air? I don't know how many percent it is right now. Should be some information somewhere. I'm sorry. Well, the air is made up of about 21% oxygen. And what I've come to understand is that it's been like 33% or higher or lower, or well, anyway, a lot higher than it is right now. And we don't really put that into context when we think about giants, big animals and stuff like that. We needed a higher pressure. Also, well, the dinosaurs if they were to live in our pressure right now, they would die, basically because the hearts or the blood pressure wouldn't be high enough, so they wouldn't get blood to the brains and they would die because of that. And that's the bigger problem, the bigger picture with the atmospheric pressure thingy right now. So if the atmospheric pressure lowers, then the height of men should also graduate, um, uh, well, getting lower at the same time, at the same pace as the atmospheric pressure goes down, because firstly, evolution, right? So in this case, it's de-evolution. Well, we're still evolving to nature, the survival of the fittest thingy. So yeah, and then we're having one more idea now. One more of my mind mapping thoughts is the Anunnaki, the gods that came from heaven. Yeah, but basically they were gods and kings over the human race, or the Sumerians anyway, for about 432,000 years. And then there happened to be a large frickin' flood that killed off most of them. But the thing is, they came back after the flood. So the Sumerians have all the tablets talking about all the kings that were before the flood, right? And that was about 432,000 years, or if it was 342,000 years, I can't remember. No, it's probably 432. Okay, so but there's more knowledge to this. There's more what's it called now? English isn't my native language, so I keep forgetting things from time to time. But basically, what they were talking about were that when the Anunnaki came to Earth, the atmosphere wasn't sufficient for their living standards, right? So they started chopping down the trees, the great ones. So basically what we have in tree size nowadays are more or less like buds, small buds. Think about what it takes for a tree to... Think about redwood. It's how old is a redwood? I need to search for that too. How old is the oldest redwood tree? Sorry for that. Oh, General Sherman, the biggest tree in the world, and it's okay. So its branches. The width of the crown is 33 meters, and the first branch starts only at 40 meters, or 130 feet. It's the biggest tree in the world, and is 83.8 meters high. 83.8 meters. And what is the tree size outside? Like 9 meters. Here in Sweden, the average length of a tree is probably like 12 meters. I've seen one part of this county where the trees were actually the double size of what I normally have seen. So it was like coming into a fairy tale forest or something like that. And it's in the northern part of this county. I live in Värmland. So, and back to the whole story, the Anunnaki cut down the trees, and you can actually see. I should do this. I should do this. Let's take the Sherman trees. Sorry, I need to. Come on, up there. Sorry. I don't like. I'm being a bit hasty right now, so I actually have the video that isn't like 2 hours long. Yeah. So I have a screen capture here. Here's the screen capture. You can see a redwood. This is the largest tree in the world that we know of, anyway. This is quite sick, actually. That's sick. It's a big tree, and it's 40 meters to the first branches. It's humongous, and this is basically the normal size of trees while dinosaurs were alive, probably, right? Because dinosaurs were big. So if we take like let's see, lumberjacks, America, old pictures. We should be able to actually see. Yes, here we have. They were cutting down really, really old trees, really big ones too. And what was the average height then? Maybe that a man were like 170. Don't quote me on that, but anyway, the trees that were cut down first were the biggest ones because they gave out the most lumber for the least work, right? But at the same time, these are the real big monsters that just caved out oxygen, right? And before the flood, this was probably the normal size everywhere. So there's been like, and if you see the trees, everything else is like small buds just growing around the big trees. And back to the Anunnaki, they cut down trees and they killed off big animals and stuff like that, and tried to change the environment. And now we come to the pyramids. Some people say that the pyramids are like 8,000 years old, over 12,000 years old. They actually seem to be pre-flood, and you can't say that the flood never was, because in 9,500 500 BC or something like that. About 12,500 years ago, there were a big flood. So, and it's been recorded through what's it called now? By speech for generations upon generations upon generations, and in books and in texts all over the world. So it's not really this strange lie that's going around. It's probably that we were reset like 12,500 years ago. Just check out old buildings like Pumapunku and the Roman Empire and yeah, the Roman Empire is they probably reused other earlier civilizations building materials and stuff like that. Like every other, if I were to build a new house after a large accident, would I go and cut down cut down trees and make planks of them when I have a whole lumberyard within a kilometer from me? Would I do that? No, I wouldn't go and cut down trees. I would go to the lumberyard and I would take lumber from there and just build myself a new home. And that's probably what all older civilizations did. They used the 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 building material from destroyed buildings and stuff like that. We also have the Sphinx that has water erosion marks all over, and you don't get water erosion from rain within like 8,000 years. You get it from like 12,500 years or more, which is really insane to think that a Sphinx, which is rebuilt. Also, the Egyptians, they repaired the Sphinx with other stones. And if you're the empire, the civilization that builds something, you're not repairing stuff, right? Because that means that it was there before. And the head was not the head of the king from the beginning, it was the head of a lion. And if you go back to when the star sign of the lion were in the center of everyone's when it was the age of the lion, then you'll have to go back for 12,500 years, and that would, and even more, I think, and that would actually get you to think and understand that it's quite a lot much older. And we also have research saying that humans, I don't know the right lingo for this, but the humans that we came from, that were only 200,000 years old, are quite a lot older now. They have evidence saying that humans that we came from predates 200,000 years with about 170,000 years more. So it's about 350 to 370,000 years ago. And as I saw in another video, we barely know anything about our own history. Basically, we know a lot more about these last 100 years than we do about the last 2,000 years, and then take in accord like 8,000 years of the Egyptian Empire, and then you have say 8,000 years of history versus 350,000 years of history. How the F would we ever know what happened if we can't even acknowledge that? It's mind-boggling. So, well, anyway, back to the pyramids where I were supposed to be going. We have the Anunnaki, the Sumerian gods. They needed something to kind of terraform Earth, right? Right? So, well, what would you use to terraform something that isn't livable? I don't even know if the whole story about big ass animals and stuff like that even lived with that ratio that they're talking about, because first of all, well, take the pyramids. We don't just have the pyramids in Egypt, we have them in China and in Europe and in the Americas. And why would we have like a lot of different pyramids all over the world? Well, if you see to one of the theories of how the pyramids are used, one of the theories is that as above, so below, meaning that the pyramids are like they're not this, they're more probably like that, and in the bottom it's a crystal, because there's water underneath Egypt at that part, so it causes frequencies that could be used for energy. The frequency, energy, vibration, which is created from Earth's own vibration and sound, and if you can get the right frequency, you can actually use it even if it's a small frequency. But if you build something big enough, then you can actually get enough power to actually do something about it. And what I'm thinking of is HHO, hydrogen generators, which is basically using vibration, sound vibration, or electricity to part water molecules into oxygen and hydrogen. And the thing with this is that you will have to have some ingredients that actually activates the whole process, which is salt water. And on Earth we have an abundance of salt water, but not drinkable water, right? But the thing is, when you ignite hydrogen, you will create well, when the burning of hydrogen cools down, you will create water, drinkable water. Meaning, if you have enough of them, you would actually be able to make drinkable water out of salt water, but in the expense of oxygen, because it still costs oxygen. Even if you have two oxygen going out, H2O, one hydrogen, two oxygen, and two oxygen is probably not enough, so it would be taking in more oxygen from the air, meaning that the oxygen levels would go down, and at the same time the atmospheric pressure would be lowered, and it would be livable for humans, as we're told that they were. And this basically eliminates the whole missing link, because from my perspective is that pre-flood we had the technology to go out to space, because sounds silly, but it isn't. But we had the ability to fly or get out to space, and even if we had the ability to like fly in the lower atmosphere or higher atmosphere or whatever, that would be enough to survive the flood, right? So when you go down again, you would be the gods that came from the heavens, right? And or you would be seen as gods because you still had the technology to help others. And what's told all around the world is that ant people and flying gods came down or up to save the peoples and teach them stuff. Right? If you put one and one together, you will understand that something happened with the older civilization and a world, a catastrophe that took off all around the world, killing off most of the people, or a big part, a big chunk. Anyway, the humans that, or the human population that we have now, we're like a freaking virus. We're billions, and if we go back to like after the flood, well, after the flood there weren't that many people, so probably it would be like repopulation of the earth. So but anyway, the pyramids for me is I've heard that the pyramid in Giza is actually humming, meaning that there are sounds coming from it, from vibrations echoing inside the limestone and getting out so people can hear it, which kind of, for me, is a positive for the theory that I and a whole other group of people actually have, that they were hydrogen HHO hydrogen generators. But what they don't have a conclusion for, or a whole story for, is that they were terraforming Earth, or like, say that the flood basically also could have destroyed like all the drinkable water. Basically, you need to make more drinkable water. To learn that, you need to know how to make a hydrogen generator, basically, and it's quite easy to make it. Just go on and check some videos on YouTube. There's plenty of videos about it, and from my perspective of the whole thing, it's definitely terraforming. It was terraforming, it was helping the nature, it was reviving and repopulation that was or in need of the repopulation and saving of the of humans, etc. We needed this, even if it costed the atmospheric pressure and the lowering of oxygen in our air. Right? Now, I can understand it. I accept it. The negative part of it is that we have lower oxygen levels in the air, meaning that we are more likely to get sicknesses like cancer. Because I had a discussion with my friends, as I said in the beginning, where I where I talked about the importance of breathing right, meaning in through the nose, cooling down, because you have I don't know what's called in English, but sinuses. So you have the sinuses. They go here and up here and here, meaning that they're cooling the face. When you breathe in, it cools the upper. It's not like hollow. It's the sinuses here are more hollow, but this is more like a sponge with small bubbles in it. But it's enough for ventilation or stuff like that. That's also why you get, like, if you get sick and an inflammation, you can get inflammation in this part, and if you don't take care of that, you will get like brain damage or die. So, but anyway, if you breathe in through the nose and with your diaphragm and stomach, breathe with the stomach and not the chest, and you take deep breath, deep breaths, and breathe out through the nose, mouth. I mean, breathe out through the mouth. Sorry. In through the nose, out through the mouth, and it's important to have this muscle memory of actually having the body going for deep breaths and actually using the stomach to breathe and not or the diaphragm to breathe and not the chest. And what we do nowadays is we're like hyperventilating, we're out running and we're breathing wrong, and people smoke, and they're claiming that cigarettes are the cause to cancer, but it's more like breathing wrong is the cause to cancer, and cigarettes, which has, I can't remember what it is, carbohydrates, I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's the burnt, well, it's the smoke. It lowers the capability of getting more oxygen, which is kind of not the cause, but it's not helping reverse the cause. So that's why you need to stop smoking. Anyway, so I had that discussion, and I saw this. I saw this thing here earlier, and I sent out oxygen and cancer, how cellular oxygenation kills cancerous cells. And I still believe that breathing and what you eat is the cause to all sicknesses. So yeah, or the majority of them anyway. But thank you for letting me ventilate. Well, yeah, okay. Thank you for letting me ventilate this theory of mine. It could be a bit like I try to speak out in how I think about things, and well, I didn't talk about water memory and why you should talk to the water, but you should definitely watch videos about water memory. So water memory and HHO generators, and how you use them with sound. You can actually use them with sound instead, or yeah, it's the newest reinvention, well, I don't know what to say, but anyway, thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button bell if you like my ranting. So yeah, okay, thanks, and remember to always question the truth. Yeah, and that's all from me at this given moment anyway. Peace out.